Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. This is your Thursday AMA premium video. Let's go ahead and jump in. Got a lot of questions we're going to go through. Let me move my screen over here. I need to then share my screen. Okay. All right, let's go through the questions. I think I have everything set up. Now that platinum has held the previous all-time high, can it have a move similar to silver? I think that's been my base case, right? I mean, like markets can change, obviously, but it's breaking out. So, you know, like I feel like if you hold it, you keep holding it and hope that it follows silver. I mean, the thing is like, what else are you gonna do? Like, you gonna go sell it and buy a loser? I mean, FZIX not available from in Europe. Thoughts on XMWX and EIMI? I mean, look, as long as you have international exposure, right? So for me, right, just to be blunt, right, for me, I've always done like 67% FZROX and then like 33% FZILX. That's what I've always done. Like for like a decade, or maybe not a long time. Maybe not quite a decade, but a long time. But now I'm more like, I was looking at the numbers. I think I'm more like it's more like 40% FZROX and then 60% FZILX. So I'm a little bit more overweight international now than domestic. But I think, you know, long term, I probably want to keep these numbers about 50-50. But one of the reasons why is because international has actually been doing a little bit better, I think, than domestic recently. And also, I noticed myself, you know, in recent months, more so adding a little bit more to the international one than the domestic one, because of all this, like all the tariffs, uncertainty. It's you know, it's a little concerning, but it doesn't mean I don't want to invest. It just means it's concerning. Have I ever used ICSH ultra short duration bonds instead of money market for slightly higher yield? I have not. No. Could you translate what the S&P SPX gold would offer and opportunities and how to benefit from it as it would happen for the coming months? So yeah, so basically what I mean is, like, with the S&P potentially breaking down against gold, what it means is that like gold continue. I mean, look, if it's a fake out, it's a fake out, and we lick our wounds. But if it's not a fake out, then what it means is that risk assets go down until gold bottoms. The problem with that is that gold hasn't even started going down. So, like, it's hard to believe that crypto's near a bottom when gold hasn't bottomed yet. How can gold bottom when it just keeps going parabolic? So that's kind of where I am right now. That's why how you use it as an opportunity. You say, look, I don't want to go buy crypto as long as this thing's breaking down. But if this thing breaks down and it does something like this, and then crypto gets wiped out, and it's October of 2026, and it looks like no one cares about crypto anymore, that's when you buy. That's the opportunity that you're looking for, I think. How's it going? Bloom Energy, same Palladium and Alibaba pattern, long-term energy hold. I would say in general, like, I'm just bullish on the energy sector. Is it the same pattern? Ish. Not exactly. I mean, you don't really have sort of a sweep of a high and then a pullback below the high. So I guess that's kind of different, but I mean, it's similar in the sense that it's been going up. Maybe that's why it looks similar, but yep. If somehow the butterfly effect on Ethereum plays out, how damaging it would be for future price action. So it would be very damaging, but basically the butterfly effect would still mean Ethereum goes to an all-time high, right? So it could look, with the 4-year cycle potentially being here, it could look something like this, like where Ethereum goes up into the next cycle, and then you have some like massive recession, right? And then everything comes crashing down. It could play out like that for all we know. You know, I mean, considering that it only swept the high once, we've seen charts that are like this, where like you sweep a high and then you drop for a while. In fact, gold did the exact same thing, right? Like gold did something very similar, where it like swept the high, crashed, went back up, swept it again, slightly higher high, dropped again, and then eventually broke out. So long-term Ethereum is probably bullish, but I got to be honest, like in the short term, I feel like there's a decent chance that it heads back down to the lower 2000 range, if I had to guess. I mean, I could be wrong, but like that's generally what I would think. Meta looking juicy. You know, Meta has got to be near the lows on its S&P. I would say, I would honestly say it doesn't look juicy yet. I would say maybe wait. Well, do what you want to do, but I have a feeling it's going to come sweep this low at some point on its S&P valuation. The Meta valuation on the US dollar has really been struggling, and you can see we talked about it, you know, getting this rally back up to the bull mark square band, but then getting rejected. So now I think you're potentially looking at it to fall to this wedge, like sort of this line down here. So maybe about like the mid 500s could be a good opportunity. I mean, it could still break down, but that's where it'll probably bounce next, is my guess. Just a reminder to turn on the screen. If not, thoughts on ETH in the next 6 months. I kind of just went through that. I mean, it's not like impossible for Ethereum to put in an all-time high. I mean, we did see Monero do it, so I'm not going to sit here and say like it can't happen. But I do think, you know, what I feel like makes sense. Now, what happens in the market isn't what always makes sense. What I feel like makes sense at this point is for Ethereum to basically like come back into this range, consolidate, and then try again. That's what that's what makes sense to me right now. Like revisit the fair value logarithmic regression trend line. Like revisit it, and then try to hold support there, and then try again later on this year, early next year. NOC versus LMT. Okay, this one looks structurally bullish to me. Yeah, that one looks fine. LMT, well, Lockheed, yeah. I told you guys a few weeks ago that I was pretty bullish on Lockheed. I mean, I think just be bullish on defense is probably a good way to go. That's up a lot. My guess says, I could be wrong, but my guess says Lockheed's outperforming NOC in the short term. Yeah, in the short term it is. Long term, you know, it looks like it maybe kind of ranges. So yeah, maybe Lockheed, but honestly, they're probably both good plays. Bitcoin price in 5 to 10 years, I have no idea. Given that Monero has shown strength, would you think about maybe using the risk levels to DCA later this year? I'm not as interested in altcoins. I'm just not. I mean, I'll let you know if I become interested. If you want to, I mean, I told you guys a while back that, you know, like there's always some alt that's doing well. And privacy coins we talked about a while back are as some of the ones that were doing well. But I'm not as interested in them. Still okay to top up on gold here. I mean, the thing is like whenever it does correct, it likely will lead to a correction in risk assets. So, you know, if you buy gold, are we saying it can't go down? No, it can, and it likely will. What we're saying is that when it does go down, risk assets go down more. Do you think starting to DCA your IRA, gold, and global index funds right now is a decent strategy? Look, I mean, over the long term, fiat is debased. Now, is cash king in midterm years? When compared to risk assets, a lot of times it is, but there are still midterm years where risk assets do okay, especially stocks. I think that, you know, sitting on 100% cash doesn't make a lot of sense. So, you know, not to say you shouldn't have some. I mean, I obviously have some in hopes that crypto does crash. But with things like metals continuing to do well, like, you know, I still think there's some reason to hold them. You know, I don't think you need to go DCA into silver right now, but at the same time, I haven't sold any of my silver either. So, I mean, if that's saying to maybe this is one of those times, like look at what I'm doing, not what I'm saying. I think global index funds are probably better right now than ones based in the United States. I historically have thought United States was better, but right now I think global is probably a little bit better. Uranium still bullish, gold still bullish until proven otherwise. You have to make your own decisions, but that's, you know, those are my thoughts. Uranium is trying to push up near these highs. So is I'm starting to get a little impatient with Palladium, honestly, because like gold has been and it has been moving up so well. I'm like, my concern is that if Palladium doesn't break out soon, then if gold gets a correction, then Palladium will too. All right, so I'm eager to see Palladium follow, but it just hasn't done that yet. What do you think of Tech Resources? Copper and zinc miner looks ready for a breakout, but has been risky in the past. Yeah, I think in general, my base case for a lot of the metals and all that stuff is just to be bullish on it. And I would probably say I'd be no different with this one. It is near some prior highs, but like maybe it'll break out finally. Perhaps if it were at like 62, I might not be as open-minded to it going higher, but I think in the short term I would remain bullish on it. With the S&P divided by gold, when you expect a rotation back to stocks, since it's a strong support area, is it wrong to look for a stock rally in stocks? It's not necessarily wrong, right? It's just like it's more so use it as a signal, right? Like I haven't sold any of my index funds, but what I'm saying is if this breaks down and you get weekly closes down here, it likely means stocks are going to get a correction. Okay. So that's the concern. Yes, could they bounce? Absolutely, but it doesn't really seem like the Fed's coming to the rescue right now. Updates on the on the chance of a counter trend rally to the 50-week. We already had a counter trend rally to the bull market support band. One of the things that could happen, by the way, in order to get to the 50-week, one of the ways it could play out, and we've kind of gone through this path before, would be like drop here, then rally, then drop. Like that is one way that this could play out, and yeah, like we talked a little bit about that. So yeah, but yeah, I still think the 50-week estimate will eventually be tagged. I just don't know if it's going to be tagged in the current rally. Better to wait DCA stocks until Q3. Yeah, I'm not really DCAing any individual stocks right now, and with some exceptions, right? Like occasionally I'll pick up something if it's related to like metals or something else or energy, but for the most part, I'm not buying individual stocks. And I probably won't until Q3. For a short-term trade idea, I don't do this a lot, so get off my back if it doesn't work out. But Netflix has had a really big drop recently. And it's actually like swept this low here. So I think for a short-term trade idea, if you really are looking for something to just kind of gamble on, which I don't know why you're here if you are, maybe Netflix. And maybe it can get that rally back up to the bull market support band, which might be upwards of a 20% rally. Can you elaborate more on LAC market cycle? Basically what I meant by that comment, like if you look at Lithium, and by the way, there's other ones too, right? There's Albemarle, ALB, that one's been doing well as well. It's got lithium exposure. There's another one I mentioned too, but they're all doing relatively well. This one has been on an absolute tear since April. But if you look at, say, LAC, like Lithium, this one's also, this one, LAC from the lows went up 420%, right? Albemarle from the lows has gone up only 260%. So this Albemarle is more of a steady climb. LAC seems a little riskier. Like it spikes. I would say like Albemarle is like the lowest risk one. It moves slower but a little bit more steadily. LAC is a lot more volatile, right? So it gets these larger spikes and then longer consolidations, but when it spikes, it can really move. Like it can really move. What I meant by that, because that's what you asked me, is if you overlay it with gold, like I've talked before about gold getting a correction sometime in the first half of this year. There's times like where gold gets corrections where like lithium continues to go up, right? That's what I meant. Like I don't want you to think that like a gold correction has to mean that like a lithium's bull market is over. It's on a different cycle than heavy metals, in my opinion. APLD. I don't know exactly what these guys do, but right now it's been looking okay since 2022. I guess the only thing that I would point out is that like it probably has not done that great against the S&P through the years. I'm not really sure what to think of this chart. Yeah, it's been looking good for a while, but I don't know. This isn't really a chart that I'm super interested in, but in the short term, if you're holding it, I don't think it makes sense to go sell it either. Please give outlook on Berkshire. I always wondered if Berkshire after one would be as interesting. I mean, look, any practical, rational person looks at this chart going back to 1996 and sees up and to the right. Are there some recessions in here? Yes, but generally it goes up and to the right. So I don't know if Warren leaving is going to have an impact or not, but there's a lot of uncertainty around it. Might be worth kind of. I haven't bought any of this, right? But I imagine that it's not the worst chart on the S&P valuation. I guess I just haven't found it worthwhile to buy this individual stock over just the S&P. Really, it's at the same valuation it was at against the S&P back in 2008, so not a whole lot's changed. Would you suggest at this point holding Euro or USD? It's a good question. I mean, like, I feel like I am still bullish on the dollar, but given that I'm more bullish on international funds than domestic, does that say something that I'm not thinking about? Right now, I don't have a definitive answer for you. I think you're probably going to have similar results with both, if I had to guess. I have said I'm structurally bullish on the dollar looks bullish for now, which means more than likely the euro looks bearish, but it kind of goes to some degree. It kind of goes against what I've said about index funds. I already talked about what a global index is I'm currently holding and watching. This one, Eli Lilly, I mean, looks good, you know. I mean, it's looks fine. If it starts to fall back down to the prior highs and below it, it's probably a good idea to get out. But as long as it doesn't, I mean, because you don't want it to repeat like this or something, you know. I guess that's the only concerning idea. What quarter would you think S&P tops for the year if you had to guess? Maybe Q1, Q2 timeframe. Can you elaborate more on your thoughts regarding international index funds exposure? Are those other stocks funds aside from Alibaba and FCLX like you like? There's other funds. I mean, you know, like the DAX has done really well. Like if you look at the German markets, like that's done really, really well. In fact, it's been outperforming the S&P, I think, for a little while. You can look at China. I've been relatively bullish on that one. That one's doing really, really well. The HSI. There's a lot of different funds that you can get exposure to if you're wanting exposure to other markets. Can you go into detail about the lithium market cycles and its relationship to other asset classes? It seems to be a boom and bust cycle similar to Bitcoin. Yeah, basically what I meant by that is like, don't assume that it follows heavy metals because I don't really think it does. When you have, it's not a heavy metal. It's not used for like, it's not like a like money. It's not used for like money like gold and silver can be. It's not like monetized in that way. So it follows a different cycle. So like if you're following metals and you think, oh crap, like if gold cracks, that means lithium has to. Like it's not necessarily true. Like uranium can go up too, like even when gold's going down. Like if you look at URA and then you overlay it with gold, like you can see that that uranium was going up, like when gold found this top here in 2020, like uranium continued to rally for like over a year after that. So the same idea with like lithium, right? Like they operate on different cycles. So like having some heavy metals, then also having some other things like uranium and lithium, they give you a little bit of diversification in case the things like gold and silver start to slow down. What aim for allocation? I'm like 20-25%, I think. Something like that. I think Rivian bounces here. This one does look structurally good, but PayPal also did too, but we talked about how it would likely rally and then come back down to the lows, and it did that. So like it found a low, it rallied, and then it just came back down to the lows. Will Rivian do something similar? I think it's probably likely. Like I think it's likely. Like I feel like what'll happen is like, yeah, like maybe it'll rally back up to like 27 or 30, but I do feel like eventually it'll probably come back down to the lows, then maybe try to bounce from there. In the short term, though, yeah, I mean, it still technically looks bullish in the short term. Thoughts on platinum group metals? Thanks. I would say I would lean bullish on them. Yeah, I mean, it just looks like a lot of the patterns we've seen. I think you remain bullish on it until proven otherwise. What would you allocate now? I think metals still seem okay. I think, if you want some international exposure to index funds, maybe some international stocks could be a good idea. Some cash, right? In hopes that crypto does fall in the third quarter. Natural gas or gas pump, any indication for oil? Yeah, I know natural gas went up a ton. It's up like, what did it go up? Like 60% or something? Like, yeah, like it's up a lot. Yeah, rallied like 68%. It's back down a little bit now. Is it an indication for oil? Not necessarily, but it does go to show you how quickly things can change. Like I do think that other commodities will start rallying, and that was one of the reasons why I had been bullish on Exxon. And one of the things I've mentioned is that like with Exxon, the thing that could play out here is it could rally through, and so that's what I'm hoping. Right, like I'm hoping that this rally can continue and that it's actually breaking out here. Dow's also not a it's not an oil company, but I still remain bullish on it for other reasons. I think like you could argue that some of these companies that have been beaten down for so long are starting to rise out of the ashes now. Now that other things are starting to like die off. Like it sounds weird, but like now that like a lot of the riskier stuff is going to zero, it means that perhaps some of the stuff that they're actually like producing things, things are going to start looking up for them. So yeah, I think I'm bullish on Dow, bullish on Exxon, bullish on nickel, right? Bullish on lithium, bullish on uranium, still bullish on silver until proven otherwise. I mean, everyone keeps telling me it's the top, and it just keeps going higher. Gold still looks good to me too. Palladium, cross fingers that it can break through 19, because once it breaks through these prior highs, I think it's going to 23, 24. Updates on Dow. What do you think about? Yeah, so I think I just spoke about Dow. That was timely. Yeah, I think it looks good. I think it looks good. It's like a classic, even sort of sweeping the low from all those years ago in 2020, and now it's moving higher. Kind of reminds me of Target in a way, where Target swept those lows from the pandemic, and then now it's starting to show strength again. Which metals do you think are worth investing? I still think a lot of them are. Like I still think having exposure, especially if you're going to ride them out for the rest of the decade. Will you likely have a better valuation price in Q3? Probably, but still feel like a lot of them are fine. I mean, even the people that bought like lithium, uranium, silver, palladium, gold, any people who have bought that over the last few months are still happy, and they were kind of asking me all the same stuff. Nickel is another idea too. What are your thoughts on IREN? I know you guys asked me about this one before. You know, you don't really see the same pattern because it doesn't look like it has all that price history, but you do start to wonder if it's one of those similar types of charts where it like breaks out, pulls back, and then runs. So I think for now it remains bullish until improvement otherwise. Long-term URA or URNM. I would say URA for me because I feel like it's just like the lower risk one. URNM is also an okay play. Like I think it's an okay play. There's also UUUU. This is probably the riskiest, like one of the riskiest ones, right? I've made some money on this one because when it rallies, I mean, it really goes up. But when it drops, I mean, it's brutal. Like the rally, the drop that it just had not too long ago was like a 50% drop. Now it's right back up near those highs. But this one is brutal when it drops. So I think URA is kind of like the safer one. But then there are other ones too that that are okay. I think URNM is okay. Like I don't think it's overly I don't think it's that much riskier than URA, but I think URA is kind of like the lower risk one. Do you think the Bitcoin rally is over and the wick to the bull market swept was the counter trend rally given? Yeah, I think in the short term that is the sort of the short term rally. I think you're probably going to see it sweep these lows down here. I don't think it's too late for uranium. Thoughts on XM? Yeah, I mean, I think we already went through this. I feel like you already asked this question. Maybe I didn't actually pull up the tickers, which is maybe why you're asking it again. But yeah, I mean, like, I think, yeah, like what you said is fine. I think what you said is fine. ETH Bitcoin for the remainder of the year. I think ETH Bitcoin leaves a lot to be desired. And, you know, because it didn't really get that drop I was looking for in January, I still feel like it might be still lurking out there. You know, like maybe we're going to start to get that drop now where it kind of like drops off and falls in. Perhaps that's about to happen. TLT, a good time to enter? Probably not. TLT, well, I mean, it depends on what your time horizon is. Like, you know, over long in a period of time, maybe, but I think that it's going to come sweep this low. So I think it will come back down to the lower 80s. What's a good entry on uranium? I think just DCing is the way to go. Thoughts on gold stocks, GDX? I still remain bullish on them. Hard not to be, you know. Yeah, it looks a little below off toppy soon. Maybe don't go. Maybe don't. When you start seeing these like gaps higher, like I wouldn't recommend FOMOing into something like that. But if you're holding it, I'd probably hold it. Could you translate what the S&P divided by? We already talked about that one. On the ETH Bitcoin trade, the goal was to double the Bitcoin, but ETH Bitcoin is now around 0.034. Did you exist the trade into USD at ETH all-time higher, abandon the Bitcoin doubling thesis? Where did it end? Thanks. Yeah, I went back to what did I go back to? I think I just went back to US dollars. Yeah, I think I went back to US dollars. Basically because I think the I think I went back to US dollars, but it's possible I rotated it back to Bitcoin. I can't really remember, but I do think Bitcoin is in a bear market right now. So I think you're better off with US dollars than Bitcoin in the short term. Do you still believe gold could correct 25 to 30% of the second half? Yeah, I mean, I think the correction will start in the first half, but I think it'll bottom in the second half. Are you able to share your portfolio? We've talked about it, but I don't know. I mean, it could lead to a lot of issues, I feel like, because a lot of people get really upset when I start sharing stuff. You know, like I've tried 1,000 different ways, but no matter how I share things, people always get mad. Like I'll say I'm buying this, and then people miss it, and then a year later or a month later, they're like, "Oh, you didn't ever said that." I'm like, "Well, I did say it. You missed it," and then they get mad at me for not saying it enough. Or if I say it and it goes down before it goes up, people get mad. It's kind of just a lose-lose scenario, you know. So I struggle with it, but I do try to tell you guys my percentages when you ask. Like someone asked me earlier what my metal percentages. I think it's like 20-25%. Do you view speculation for how high gold can run before the probable correction? I don't. I mean, I instead of how high, I think you just say a time frame. Obviously, with a lot of things having topped out around 4.9, you know, the 490 mark, Tesla, Ethereum, I'm a little concerned that it might be coming soon for gold. But with that said, I think the top's probably sometime in the January-April timeframe, would be my guess. We discussed platinum and palladium already. Better to wait DCing stocks until Q3. Yeah, I think so. International's probably better. Do you think eventually Bitcoin will behave more like gold? No. I think it's more like a levered version of the NASDAQ. Which international index do you use? Which are good entries? FZILX. I think I just DCA it. Gold, silver speculation. If you're talking about the gold-silver ratio, we can talk about that because we already talked about both of them in general. This ratio is getting pretty low. I don't know how much lower it's going to go, but it's getting pretty low. I think you'll see some type of mean reversion sometime in the coming weeks to where the gold ratio, like gold kind of catches up, or so maybe silver drops and the ratio sort of snaps back. What aim for allocation of metals in total? 2025. Timeframe for palladium to break through the previous local high. I'd say the coming weeks. Talked about Eli. Talked about that one. LAC price target and timeline. You know, I've said before that, like, if it plays out how I want it to play out, that it will come up here and sort of take out these highs above $10. But yeah, I mean, I absolutely could be wrong, but that's kind of been my goal. Bitcoin just went below 0.4 risk. Did you buy? I've not yet. As I said, I was deferring more towards the 4-year cycle at this point. Since we talked on apathy, thoughts on USAR? Yeah, generally bullish. TSM and CRDO. Semiconductors. I mean, it looks bullish, absolutely. I'm not going to tell you need to sell it. I will say, like, there are risks, obviously, with semiconductors and whatnot. If the AI bubble does start to pop or something, like, you know, you could see the whole tech industry start to struggle a little bit. So, like, I'm not buying this one right now, but if I held it, I probably wouldn't be selling it either because it just put in new all-time highs really recently. Bitcoin gold over the next 4 years. You know, honestly, in the short term, I think Bitcoin's going to bleed against gold. So yeah, I mean, it's to me, I could see it kind of bleeding back down and then maybe coming back up. Personal situation, really ever exposed to crypto, around 60% and all in the red. The rest is metals and a bit in stocks. I just received a bonus at work of 100K. How to better invest it? I can't provide financial advice, right? I mean, I would say just DCA into assets you want to hold long term. I don't think it makes sense to put it into crypto. But, you know, I think metals are a better play. I think you could grab some, you know, some of the metals that maybe aren't as parabolic at the time and hope that that cycle continues. Could be uranium, could be Palladium, could be lithium, could just be getting some gold. I hold more gold than basically all the other metals, with maybe the exception for silver, just because silver rallied so much. Does Monero look bullish? Usually when things break through an all-time high, it is a bullish thing, especially after such a long consolidation. Like, sometimes when I look at a chart like this, I'm like, is this telling us what Ethereum's going to do, right? Where, like, you have one cycle and then the next cycle it just sweeps the high and then it drops back down, you know, and then eventually runs like 4 years later. Maybe this is what Ethereum's going to do, you know? Do you have any thoughts or worries about Bitcoin Core versus version 30 shambles? No. I'm not overly concerned about all that stuff. Where do you think USDT dominance will top the cycle bottom? It's not about where, it's about when, and I think it'll probably be around October. But I'll be paying attention as early as the summer. I don't know exactly where, but I do think it's going to go higher. LAC divided by gold. A really interesting chart. You can kind of see it, like, has come back down to these lows. So, I mean, look, I'm bullish on lithium. I don't know if it's going to, you know, I don't really know if it's going to have the same glory days it had back in 2021. But I don't think this is the spot to be bearish on it. Oil divided by gold update. Yeah, oil continues to get crushed by gold. Absolutely crushed. I don't know where it's going to bottom. But what I do know is that a lot of times when it stays like this for a while, oil will then spike back really aggressively, and then that's like kind of what leads often into a recession. How will DXY perform for the remainder of the year? I remain bullish on it as long as the higher low holds. If the higher low fails to hold, then I'll flip bearish. Buy uranium and forget it for the rest of the year. I think it's not the worst of it. How is BBY? Best Buy. Doesn't really look that appealing to me. It kind of just looks like it bleeds against stocks, against the S&P. Maybe you say like, all right, what if it's near these lows? Could it be a good entry? Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but long term, I mean, it's at the same valuation against the stock market it was at in 1998. The 10-year and 2-year yields, are we seeing a structural trend towards higher yields? I think we're seeing a structural trend towards higher yields, yes. How did you resolve the ETH Bitcoin trade? The swap at 0.07 to 0.303? Yeah. I mean, I sold some Ethereum at the highs, and then I'm just going to hold on to the rest of it and just be very, 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 very patient in the hopes that eventually Ethereum hits all-time highs, although I'm not certain that's going to happen right now. Carry trade dumps market 1 to 2 weeks after it's been 5 months. Are you using that as a reason for a dump? No, I mean, it's more so just the timing of the 4-year cycle. How is IFF? Not the best looking chart. I mean, I guess it did sweep the low. It's rallying in the short term, probably will continue to rally, but long term, it looks like it's probably been bleeding against the stock market here. Yeah, I guess it did just sweep this low, but there's been lows in the past that swept and then eventually fell. So I don't know. Like, it's probably not something I'd be that interested in. Do you still see Bitcoin going to the 20-week SMA? It already did that, right? Like, yeah, it'll probably do it again, but it already did that. Like, it wicked to the bull market support band already, to the 21-week EMA, right? It will probably check in more with it throughout the year, though. If you had the DCA single asset for all 2026, what would it be? Gold, silver, uranium, Bitcoin, ETH, SP, QQQ, 30-year. I don't know. Probably one of the metals. For H1 2026, better to hold euro. Yeah, let me get back to you about that one, because it kind of depends on what the dollar does here. Did XOM break out? It looks like it did. Probabilities of ETH dropping to 2200. I think it's highly likely. How is CBRL? Cracker Barrel. Not a chart I'm looking to buy. Yeah, I mean, it's a bleeder until proven otherwise. If I had 100% cash, what would be a healthy portfolio allocation? If you're 100% cash right now, I would like to maybe deploy some of it by the third quarter. Maybe inch your way into the metals and some international funds before then. If dogs away, cats will play. Will come a time when the cat's away and other metals will play. Yeah, I think so. That's why I said, like, when gold and silver are done, maybe that's when LA's, maybe that's when lithium and uranium start doing better. NOC versus LMT. Looks like NOC is winning out. What do you think about guys who use moon cycles and TradingView for investing? What do you think I think about them? Base case gold, still top in the first half, drop, bottom Q3, early Q4. For someone who has no exposure to metals, including gold, should I wait for a pullback or DCA? I just generally DCA, because, like, I mean, everyone always asks that, like, every week, and then things just go higher. Like, yeah, I mean, gold's going to have a pullback at some point, but, like, if you just DCA it, like, look, think about it like this, okay? If you know you want to have gold, in 10 years, doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if you started to DCA it now or in 2 months or if you started a month ago. Probably not. If it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter now. I mean, frankly. I think DCA, just because that's more of like an admission of like, hey, we can't time the market. It is getting heated. Yeah, like, I know that. Like, I know people are going to say that, but it's been like that for months, Like, yeah, I don't know how long it's going to stay like this before it comes back down to earth for a while. Monthly RSI is at 94. But I mean, the monthly RSI was at 94 in July 1973, and the price was $90, and then eventually it went to 864, like a few years later. I would say DCA is better. Thoughts on XPON? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that that's the bottom or not. It's not something I'm that interested in. If you're going to use voice notes, type subject to be easily searchable in the future. Okay, thoughts on GDXU? Thought I did do that. I'm probably, yeah, I'd say I'm generally bullish on this, although I do not recommend people buying it because it's a leveraged product, and I just think that's a good way for a lot of people to get wrecked. Please talk about lithium, uranium cycle. We have an idea for silver, but these have been left out. I think I've talked about it now. Thoughts on LAC lithium? Yeah, still bullish on lithium. Thoughts on NVO? Maybe it looks like it's wanting to go back up to the 50-week, but it looks kind of like the bull trend was potentially broken. You know, like it kind of looks like this trend was broken in the short term. Although long term, something like this, like it's hard to be too bearish on it because it's just been going up and to the right since like 1987. So it might even have put up a decent fight here against the stock market. Yeah. Okay, so recently it swept the low on its S&P valuation, so I'd probably say short-term bullish on it. Thoughts on IREN? I think we already talked about that one, I believe. I'll pull it up just in case I didn't, but yeah, I mean, in general, I think it makes sense to stay bullish on it. What to do with cash now? Hold portfolio and look at the metaverse. I think we talked about that a minute ago. Bitcoin divided by coin and oscillator. You're talking about Coinbase. I don't know if it's an oscillator or not. I would say probably more bullish on Bitcoin over the long term than Coinbase. What would be a good risk allocation between metals, crypto, and S&P in Q4? I would say crypto by then, like 15-20% metals, maybe 20-25, and the rest stocks by then. Should we sell our ETH when the anticipation of going lower? That's up to you. I can't tell you what to do. Thoughts on Robinhood? I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm starting to lean more bearish on Robinhood. Yeah, like I think in the short term it leans bearish. What do you think of the possible path for LAC? Yeah, we've talked about this, guys, a lot. I mean, these same questions, but I think that like yeah, I think what it's going to do is eventually spike. I just don't know exactly like what week it's going to do it. I mean, I could absolutely be wrong. Like maybe the whole thing's already over, but I remain bullish on it. Yeah, I think that question already we already talked about it. We already talked about that one too. If S&P breaks down against gold, macro looks risk off and bearish for stocks and crypto, but the cycles says a new bull cycle next year. How can crypto turn bullish if the macro trend is still bearish? But you can have a bull market within a larger bear market, right? Maybe you still have a bull market in 2027, 2028, but it could still be that stocks and crypto are bleeding to gold during that time. Like that's happened before, right? Like look at S&P divided by gold in the 70s, right? Like eventually after stocks broke down against gold, you know, there was a period where stocks outperformed gold for a couple of years and then they underperformed again. Talked about Monero already. Are you reevaluating your risk metrics at all? The lower risk levels are doing a good job at identifying opportunities, but the upper risk levels are barely registered in the last 2 cycles because we didn't have euphoria. Like retail didn't come. You know, like if you're going to have a risk metric based on retail and euphoria, and then they just don't come, then how can you expect them to be triggered? The one thing I was considering doing was maybe saying, all right, we have different regimes with the risk metric. So when we're in higher interest rate quantitative tightening, maybe we just arbitrarily add like 0.3 or something. I mean, we're not going to do that, but like some derivative of that. Where you account for the like the monetary policy regime into the risk metric. That might be the way to do it. Walmart, probably bullish. Yeah, Walmart against the S&P, I'd say bullish on it. Usually Walmart does really well going into recessions because people shop there more than other places. You can see Walmart's been doing great. Also going into recessions, I don't know if we're going into one, but if you look at Target's valuation against Walmart, usually Target bleeds against Walmart. Yep, same thing. Views on French pharma. I don't have any views on that. I'm sorry. I mean, I can pull it up. Is this one it? I don't know if this one's it. I mean, not the best looking chart. I don't know if that's the right chart though. How many weeks is short term for Netflix? Just a few. Like on the sweeps of 80. Do you think the nickel gold breakout above the bull market support band will be sustained? I'm not sure I know it. Oh, you mean this one? Gosh. I don't know. I don't know. When do you think Bitcoin will hit 125K again? Not this cycle, maybe next cycle. Where do you use residential real estate on the risk curve in comparison? I think it's like lower risk in general. I mean, they're never going to stop printing. I mean, they can't just print land, right? They're never going to stop printing money. So it's probably like lower risk in general. Has your view on investing in oil changed? No. What price would you take profits on Netflix? Yeah, so basically, like, it's sweeping this low here at 80. If it can rally, I would take profits at 100, basically at the bull market support band. Would you exit an ETH position now, or is it too late? I mean, that's up to you. I mean, I do think Ethereum will eventually go to a new all-time high, but I don't think it's going to happen in the short term. How do you do TA on Palantir? Still looks bullish. Yeah, I mean, Palantir is one of those that has looked bullish forever. But you know, maybe it's starting to sort of level out up here. So I think in the short term, you have to kind of give it some time to see if it's going to break out here again, or if it's going to start breaking down. I mean, given where we are in the midterm year, there's a higher chance it might actually break down. So I wouldn't buy right now. If you have a lot of it, it might make some sense to offload and get into something a little bit safer. Meta update, should have sold at the bull market support. I mean, that's what I said. I said that it'll rally to the bull market support and get rejected. Is it a good idea to compare any stock to gold for the time being? I think so. Yeah, I think it makes sense. If silver tops in January, does gold also top around the same time, or is it different? It depends. Sometimes it tops at the same time, but sometimes gold rallies longer. So if you're in silver and you're looking to de-risk some, you could de-risk into gold because there's at least a chance gold rallies after silver's done. FZILX against gold. Yeah, I mean, a lot of stocks have been bleeding against gold. I'm not really sure if, yeah, it's been bleeding against gold, but most stocks have, right? Like most index funds have, like even S&P, again, bleeding against gold. A lot of these things are just simply bleeding against gold. Thoughts on AI bubble? There might still be some tailwinds, but I don't know. I think recently seeing some of these companies like OpenAI pivot to ads when they said that would be kind of their last hope for a business model. I mean, it's a little concerning that maybe we got a little ahead of ourselves. Tesla. I mean, it is at least holding the bull market support band. So as long as it does that, still a chance for a new high. Do I think Meta will run soon? Probably not. Thoughts on are you talking about Neocorp? I'd say it looks kind of like the lithium chart. Would you exit an ETH position now, or is it too late? Too late for what, right? Like if you think it's going to go to 2100 like I do and you want to sell, like you can. I sold some at 49. I'll buy probably if it goes to 2100, but is it better to wait till next year? I think it's better to wait until at least this summer. Do you still think do you still think we go to the 50-week? Yeah, but I think there's a chance we could sweep the low first. What do you think of the time cycle analysis made by Bob Lucas? Do you find it useful? I've generally found his stuff useful. Yeah. Thoughts on Meta, talked about it. If Bitcoin is in a bear market, what happens when stocks and metals go in their bear markets? Yeah, I think then crypto would go down more. I know we should have sold at higher levels, but does it make sense to sell Bitcoin or ETH now and hopes to buy lower? Is it too late? I think we're in a bear market. Like, I don't know if it makes sense for you to sell. The funny thing is like, you know, I get these questions anytime there's a red week, and then when it's going up, anyone who sold gets mad. So like I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm telling you what I think is going to happen. It's up to you to then like take action on it. After I mean, I've been saying for months that we're in a bear market. After silver cycle, where do you see it fitting steadily priced for a long time? I mean, I think it's going to get like a 40% crash whenever the top is in. Outlook on APP stock. Still structurally bullish, but could be a little toppy up here. I think going into midterm years, I'm just a little bit more skeptical, and so I get out of a lot of individual stocks and don't like recommending them. Do you still see Bitcoin hitting the 200-day? It might, but it might not happen until after Bitcoin sweeps the low. But yeah, it will probably happen at some point. But I think it's going to happen after the 200-day moving average comes down a little. You know, like I felt like the 200-day was a little high. But I think it probably will happen at some point. Additional thoughts on UUU from last week. Critical minerals. Any chance of sharing other high risk stop plays with the group that you've taken? I mean, like I don't mind sharing sometimes, but like the issue is that like when I share something like UUUU, I know it's going to get like a 50% drop, and the people are going to get mad, which is why I don't share about it. You know. But in general, I've been bullish on uranium for a long time, and I've said that for like 5 or 6 years. I mean, there's different ways to get exposure. I think the best way is probably through just the URA. When could land prices start to pump? I'm concerned they will one day skyrocket. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that believe in this like 18.6 year real estate cycle, which if it's true, it means we're closer to a top. CRDO. Yeah, a lot of the individual stuff it's a little risky, you know, like because is it a distribution, you know. That's why I feel like right now it makes more sense to get rid of the idiosyncratic risk of a lot of individual stocks. Traded 80% of my Bitcoin to ETH at ETH lows. So currently sitting on 10% Bitcoin Bitcoin ETH. I think that's a little bit too high ETH. I think that's too high ETH in my opinion. Can you add an international index risk metric? Okay. Okay, I'll take note of that. Update on nickel. Still bullish on it. Can you look at MMM or MMM 3M? Looks like it broke through here a while back. I think we talked about this before. Structurally, it still looks fine. Like it's still sitting above its 200-day moving average. So I think for now it still looks structurally okay until proven otherwise. How confident are you in the risk-adjusted returns for Bitcoin in the long term? It's a tough question. I mean, if we're going into a different regime for the next 10 years, and you know, it might make not. That's why I think it being diversified makes sense. Like a lot of people give me a hard time for only being like 15-20% crypto, but like I don't know. Like I don't want a lot of my net worth to be in like one asset class. Thoughts on Palladium against silver? I'm sure it's getting absolutely annihilated. Absolutely annihilated. But that's okay because I own a lot more silver than Palladium. Yeah, I mean, you can see it's been completely destroyed. And it's because silver has done so incredibly well. It is kind of coming up near these lows, so maybe it'll find some support there from back in 2011. But in the short term, yeah, it's hard just not to be bullish on metals in general. Thoughts on Tesla divided by the stock market? Generally, long term, Tesla has done well against the stock market, right? And I sort of talked about it, maybe doing something like that a while back, I guess. So perhaps that's the view. Thoughts are on REMX. I would say probably bullish. Yeah, probably bullish. And EEM divided by the money supply. It looks like it's starting to show some strength. I mean, is it different than these other ones? I don't know, but I would lean towards it looking like it's broken out here and say it looks like it's bullish. And then the last one, Intel. I think I told you guys about Intel a while back before it got that big rally. But yeah, I would still say I'm generally bullish on it. So and it's up another 46% this month. So that's it, guys. It looks like those are all the questions, and also we've been going for about an hour. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully the bull market in metals continues, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.